Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and more Blood and Plunder coverage here as we're working our way now into the Spanish characters. So today we'll be taking a look at the various types of generic Spanish commanders in turn. So from the commanders here to the Corsair commanders, the militia, and then the guardacostas. So we're going to start off here by taking a look at the different guardacostas. And again, with the generics, we always get 3 levels of character, and that presents some interesting choices to us. So, taking a look here then. So one of the options that the different character levels afford us, of course, are, how many points do we really want to sink into our commander? But obviously, if we go the cheap route, that's more points for units and bigger units and so on and so forth, but at the cost of command range, command points, and in most cases, even just abilities. So the Guardacosta Barebones commander here, the untested one, obviously can lead Guardacostas, comes with a pistol and standard melee weapon. So basic stuff here. That minimal 4-inch command range, right? So we're not going to be affecting really that much area on the battlefield with that. Perfect for smaller games, certainly. And that single command point, right? So obviously each turn that's going to be a very important decision on what that one command point gets spent on. But he does actually come with Ruthless, where a lot of nations, the Barebones commander won't actually even have an ability, so that's always cool. And again, Ruthless, and we'll have that all the way across the hierarchy here, is a good ability, right? So this unit gets a -1 bonus to shoot tests with small arms, and to fight test against units with more fatigue than them, right? So in order of operations, and when we're playing out a turn, ideally we want to to activate this, obviously shoot at a unit or fight a unit that has more fatigue. Of course, fighting maybe can expose us to a little bit more danger if we're not going to wipe the unit out. That being said, if we maybe go a little bit later in the activation, typically let some other units put some damage out or fatigue on the other units, then when we activate these guys, ideally Ruthless should always be available to us. So timing and positioning is always crucial for that, but Ruthless is a great ability to have and bestow on units, although a lot of units tend to have that already. But hey, it's nice when we can confer that. And again, for 0 points, that's what we're getting, right? Now, if we want to get a little bit more expensive and take an experienced commander, probably the most common one here amongst the generics, right, is for that points investment. 15 is not so bad at all. Again, can lead Guardacostas, same weapons loadout. We're doubling the command range and doubling the command points for spending 15 points, but we're also now acquiring Inspiring and Broadside. And those are some of our favorite abilities in general. So good stuff there. We keep Ruthless. We've already talked about that. Inspiring is a fantastic one. All friendly units within the command range of the commander may reroll any failed rally tests when the commander's unit is active. So just making those 2 command points that much more valuable, right, when we're doling stuff out. And Broadside, of course, ubiquitous for naval combat, right? So when we have multiple artillery pieces firing as part of the same range attack, they're all rolled simultaneously, and that increases our chances of scoring criticals. So always good stuff there. So 3 very relevant abilities, very good bang for your buck here as far as 15 points is concerned. That 8-inch command range, again, while still not huge, is at least a little bit more of a respectable area of the battlefield where we can have an effect on, right? So, and then finally, if we want to go top tier for the just generic Guardacostas here, 20 points. So for 5 points more, we're going to get another 4 inches of command range. Now we're really affecting a pretty decent little chunk of the battlefield, right? Still, the 2 command points would be, I think, overly good if we did get that 3rd command point for just a mere 5 points. And we're going to add one more ability to these guys, and that's Commodore. So let's jump on that. So again, we keep everything that we just talked about: Ruthless, Inspiring, Broadside. Great combination for any commander, especially even a named one, right? But Commodore on top of that. So 4 abilities, keep that in mind. There's a lot of special characters that cost more and don't necessarily have 4 abilities either. So it doesn't always mean you got to run to the named commanders, although they'll often have some other crazy abilities too. But Commodore is fantastic. So when this commander is aboard a ship, so kind of on this high end one too, kind of gearing us more towards naval combat, right, with broadside and Commodore, but still a good commander on land too. Anyway, when he's on a ship, its command range, its command range is increased by 12 when giving actions to units on other ships. So obviously, more relevant when we're running multiple ships, not just one. But bigger games, certainly this guy's going to make his presence known here with his ability to really extend the command range and affect other ships. Again, we're still going to be somewhat limited, not getting that juicy 3 command points to spread around, but with inspiring, hopefully, and then the extended range, we're going to make those 2 command points really count. So maybe for our ship and 1 for another friendly allied ship. But yeah, so Guardacosta's a great faction for the Spanish to run. And again, some good choices here in the generics. So let's move on to the militia next, another popular Spanish faction. So moving along, guys, now we're looking at the Spanish militia, 0, 15, and although on this one it's 25 for the seasoned commander versus 20 for the Guardacostas. So let's jump in. So as a 0-point option here, he's actually already coming with the 8-inch command range. So good stuff there. 1 command point. So, and then again, Ruthless as the standard option there. So we've already covered that earlier in the video. We're not going to repeat that. And again, pistol and standard melee. So, you know, if we're looking at just different 0-point options here, as far as the untested commanders go, right, we're getting, obviously, Guardacostas and Militia are going to be 2 very different lists and styles of play and all that stuff. But, you know, as far as the 0-pointers here, having that 8-inch command range for no points investment is actually pretty cool. And the 1 command point. Now, somewhat similarly to the Guardacostas, although we're not getting broadside here, we are getting inspiring when we jump up to experienced, 15 points, and again, 12-inch command range. So overall, as you can kind of see, the militia is already kind of outpacing the Guardacostas as far as the command range is concerned. So, you know, again, another 4 inches here versus the Guardacostas. At the cost, again, though, of not getting broadside. But again, we're a militia force, right? So makes sense. So aside from that, Ruthless is still there, of course. So again, all the previous things that we talked about apply. But again, good points investment for a Spanish force here. 15 points, and then buys you a pretty good chunk of real estate, right, as far as the total command range goes, and 2 command points to make that inspiring that much better. Now, when we jump up to the big boy here, the experienced commander, 25 points, gets us a superior 16-inch command range. A lot of special characters don't even touch that, and even some of the top tier ones don't. So a huge chunk of the battlefield we can affect there. Still the 2 command points, right? Pretty hard to get 3 command on a generic character, but here we do get the extra abilities that start piling in for that extra 10 points as well. We keep Ruthless and Inspiring. We get High Standing, which we haven't seen much of, and actually Well Equipped. So let's dive in and see what that's all about. So High Standing, due to physical limitations in experience or arrogance, the commander doesn't move quickly or participate in acts of subterfuge. So when a commander with high standing is attached to a unit with elusive, quick, scout, or skirmisher, that unit loses those special rules as long as the commander remains attached, which a lot of the Spanish units will have that. But again, ideally, maybe, you know, we want to focus on putting him in a unit that isn't going to lose those abilities if we ideally want to employ those with like a lot of the milicianos and so on and so forth. Letting them keep those relevant abilities. So can be a negative, but again, ideally we put him in a unit that you know isn't necessarily losing out on those things. So, although you could of course have a reason for putting them in those units, but yeah. So it is what it is. So it's often more of a hindrance, but again, we can get around that. But the last one's pretty cool. Well equipped. So if this commander is attached to a unit with the poorly equipped special rule, we just negate that. So that's actually a nice positive there. And again, there are some Spanish units that would be considered poorly equipped if we look at like the historical background and stuff and then in their special rules. So just being able to negate that by saying essentially this guy's got the money. So we're going to confer that ability to this unit and essentially give them a positive for that. So all in all, pretty cool option. Militia is definitely one of my favorite forces to run for the Spanish along with the Guardacostas. when we're just talking generic forces, as far and generic characters. So good stuff there. So yeah, and really no downsides to these guys whatsoever. Although 25 points can be a chunk to invest in if you're going the experienced route. Oops, bring that in the correct order there. So the next part is the Corsairs, or are the Corsairs here, the commanders. Again, we go 0, 15, and 25. Now we're back to the shorter command ranges, though, and same command point loadout. It's pistol and standard melee weapons, of course, and again, these guys can run a Corsairs force. Again, we're getting Ruthless as the standard, so we're not going to repeat that, but we do have some different rules coming in here. So let's take a look at that again. So we've seen Commodore earlier, and we've got Ruthless still, but this guy brings in another of our favorite abilities here and lead by example. So again, if we time things right, if the unit that includes this commander causes an enemy unit to be removed from the game, all units in this commander's force can remove a point of fatigue. So huge if we can get that to go off multiple times throughout the game, right? We've talked about that in multiple videos when it's come up for commanders. But if you think about the amount of actions that would be required, let's say like you have like 5, 6 units or something in your force, right? And we need to then find ways to get rid of fatigue across them. We can waste time having each unit try to rally and things like that, maybe doling out some command points, etc. And maybe in the crucial role we gotta like maybe burn a fortune point to reroll or something like that. Here, just if we can get this to go off consistently, or at least a few times throughout the battle, right? This is just economy of actions, and that's one of those ways of getting ahead in a game like this where actions are super important. So we ideally want to waste them on damaging the opponent as opposed to trying to sort of heal ourselves and maybe also avoid getting a loss of actions by having too much fatigue piled up and stuff like that, and keeping our forces in the fight. So lead by example is great. Again, we want to time it and ideally have the commander's unit here target units that are already pretty beat up. Maybe we just give them so much fatigue that they just automatically rout, or we just wipe out units that are maybe just have a few models left. So key things there, and ideally we want to keep the commander's unit up and running as long as possible to make that work. So lead by example is a fantastic one and well worth this guy at 15. Jumping into the high end again, seasoned, we get the 12-inch command, lead by examples there still, Commodore, and now we get broadside. So all things we've seen before, but a potent package here. 4 rules, we get a little bit more of the naval aspect coming in here again with Commodore and broadside. Lead by example, still fantastic, and Ruthless. So again, another really potent package for the Spanish here, although we are going to invest 25 points to get that. So then last but not least here, let's get these in order as well. So the sort of new Spanish commanders here basically can lead any Spanish force. So here at the 0 points slot, 4-inch command range, 1 command point, but again, no special abilities here. So keep that in mind, and then whatever weapons the unit he joins. So, but yeah, so obviously we're not going to get much on this one when we're going the no points route, but that's there to maybe just get more models on the table. So again, great for super small games. 10 points though. Here's a little bit of a discount at the experienced level, 8 command and 2 command points. Again, weapons for all these guys as whatever unit they join. But we can choose 1 special rule from the Spanish commander list. And again, you have your options. We've covered most of them here. Commodore, we've seen a lot. Broadside, inspiring, right? We've seen well equipped, but we haven't really covered these other ones. But again, it's just going to be coming down to what force are we going to be leading with them, and where will these abilities net us the most. But we got resilient. I think we've seen swordsman once with either the Brits or the French. Castilian obviously is going to be unique to these guys. Guerrilla commander, bold, and delay tactics. So we'll probably get into these a little bit more down the road. But and this one is nice, again, when you have the ability to choose. And so what you're really buying into with these is sort of customizability. They'll go with any Spanish force if you need them to. even some of the ones that we've previously looked at. And again, you can pick one ability here to really, again, customize however you need. But again, if you think about some of the other Spanish factions that we just looked at here with the mid-level commanders, right, it's only 10 points, right? So we're kind of a step down from the 15 points that most of the mid-level guys were at. But again, we're also only just getting one special rule for that. So got to make sure that that's worth the discount for you. So then finally jumping in just to start rounding things out here, the 20-point commander, the seasoned commander, we're getting that nice 12-inch command range, 2 command points. But here, and makes sense, right, because we're not paying 25, but we get to pick 2 of these abilities. So again, we can come up with some interesting combinations for that. So again, inspiring is always nice, as is, where was it? Inspiring and, I guess maybe we're not getting that access to that on this one. Let's double check that real quick here with the others. Inspiring is always good, no matter what, right? And we're not getting lead by example on that one. So that's unfortunate, but there are still relevant abilities on here. But no matter what, you can, again, kind of customize to what you are trying to accomplish with the points that you have available. Obviously, 20 is going to be a little discount for the 20 versus the 25 pointers. And without getting into the super high cost special characters, but we can put this into any force. We can pick the abilities that make sense for that force. And remember, when we did that series on all the different factions and sub-factions, a lot of the forces have little variations and twists and things that we can do for a lot of the units too. So this really is more like this selection here is really, especially these two, right? Much more of a sandbox, build your own character to do what you want type of selection with this. But there's definitely some interesting combinations you can come up with. And really, if you're running this, you kind of get maybe a little bit of an element of surprise too against the opponent, where sure, they might know you're playing Spanish and maybe even the like the faction within the Spanish that you're playing, but it could be a new commander every time. Like if you're just playing like some casual one-off games, you could really bring like the same character, but just hey, today he's going to have these 2 abilities, tomorrow he's going to have these 2 abilities, and so on and so forth. So it can keep this pretty fresh, and really there's a lot of different combos that you can come up with for that. But that's just a quick look at the generic commanders, guys. Spanish have some good stuff going on. Let us know in the comments for which size game that you typically buy into for the different commander levels as far as the points go. Do you ever even test out the 0-point guys? Are they even worth it? Where do you tend to go for that, and which of these tend to be your favorites so far? We'll get into the named characters as we continue the series, but thanks so much for watching, and we'll have more for you very, very soon.